Give me the tea. What's the drama?
Okay, I have a catfish story that also feels like it could be about Joe from You. It's about, we're gonna call her Ashley, and Ashley was 29 and my voice just cracked. 29, she had just gotten out of a relationship, 8-year relationship. And it is worth noting, he struggled a lot with addiction. So she's newly single, goes on the apps for the very first time, matches with a guy named Kyle, call him Kyle. They go out a few times, totally vibe. They both have 2 dogs, like a lot in common. Seems like it's good. Then, oh yeah. So she was like calling Kyle safe because it was going really well. And she was, to her, based on her last relationship that was very tumultuous, safe meant like stable and comfortable and good. But he like freaked out about that. And he sent her all these texts that were like, you're calling me safe because I'm just a backup. You don't actually care about me. You're just using me. And she was like, whatever this is a red flag. Like, it's been like 2 weeks, and what is this reaction? So she was gonna break it off, but then his dog died. She couldn't break up with him when his dog died. She's not a villain. So she was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna take like the fizzle out route and just kind of text him less, see him less, and like, oh, a hummingbird just went by. Oh my God, I didn't take Adderall. Okay, sorry. So she gets back on Tinder and she matches with this guy named Morgan. They get along. They don't meet in person, but they're like texting for a few days, I guess. And then he says, okay, I have a confession. I'm actually friends with Kyle. And the reason I swiped on you is because I'm the friend that told him to send you all those text messages, that told him to send you all those crazy messages. And I feel really bad because he really likes you and I shouldn't have like given him that advice, this is weird, right? But I guess the dating pool is small, and on apps, like you do see a lot of the same people. I mean, we've all seen someone that we didn't want to see. So I guess it wouldn't be impossible that friends would see the same person on an app. Still a weird situation, but she feels really bad for Kyle about his dog dying, and they got along so well before that. So she decides to give Kyle a second chance. Cut to Kyle and Ashley get engaged. I'm just skipping ahead, but basically she gives him a second chance and things go well and they get engaged eventually. They even become friendly with Morgan. They like have a group chat. For whatever reason, they don't actually meet. You guys are smart. There's so much more. Just wait. But they don't meet. Like, he's always busy. He also struggles with alcoholism, Morgan. And Kyle is also sober. When Morgan has issues with his alcohol addiction, Kyle really steps up and goes to him and is there for him. And it's a moment that really makes her feel like, wow, this is a really good guy. Especially given her past, that's like a huge thing for her. Green flag in her book. Kyle and Ashley eventually get engaged and they commit to each other with the eternally binding contract, getting on the same phone plan. But she didn't realize that when she went on the same phone plan as him, she'd actually upgrade to a new phone. Love it. And then he got her old phone. See, like you. Also, meanwhile, Morgan at this point kind of ghosts them. And when she asks about why he's not responding, Kyle's like, well, that's Morgan. Like, he's one of those come and go friends. Doesn't really think too much of it. One of the reasons that they did get engaged kind of quickly is because it was important for Ashley. One of her like boundaries was that she didn't want to move in with anyone until they were married. Very strict on that. Kyle starts really like pushing this boundary. He's like staying over 4 nights a week, then 5 nights a week, then 6 nights a week, then 7 nights a week. Finally, she's like, literally, this is like my one thing. Stop making all these excuses to come over all the time. A few nights after that conversation, she's in bed and she starts to hear like a knocking on the side of her house, almost like someone's trying to break in. So she's texting her boyfriend and she texts him and she's like, oh my God, what are these noises? And instead of being like, it's okay, none of that, he says, oh, I forgot to tell you. The other day when I was staying over, someone was in your house at 2 a.m. Someone got in the back door and I didn't see who it was, but they were in your house. I forgot to tell you. I'm sorry, what? So she's like freaking out. Obviously, she's like, come over now. Was this a scare tactic? Did he hire someone to bang on the side of her house? Maybe. I don't know. You're going to ask. She did have his location. They shared location, so she knew he was not there. It is convenient that now she's scared and wants him to be there. Then another weird thing happened, and I'm telling you the story chronologically, but in the moment, just remember, she's not thinking all of these things are red flags. This is so weird. Her dad went to the Everglades and he was like talking to her about saltwater crocodiles, you know, in the way that dads like fixate on random things like saltwater crocodiles. And then on the same day, Kyle brought up saltwater crocodiles. They were not in the same conversation. And she was like, that's very bizarre that you would bring that up on the exact same day. But this starts to happen more. The conversations with him parallel conversations she's having with other people. And after a while, she can no longer just blame it on coincidence. So she talks to her sister. Definitely need those girls to have those vent sessions that change our lives. Tells her sister about that. And she tells her sister about the boundary of Kyle trying to move in, even though she said no. And her sister's like, yes, I have a red flag at my desk for these moments. Her sister's like, you don't necessarily have to break up with him, but you don't have to get married. Like, you can, if you're feeling like this, you should at least confront him. But how do you confront someone like this? Text her cousin, who she's also close with, I don't think I want to get married. Her cousin FaceTimes her immediately, which is the appropriate response. And they just start venting, you know, she's like going through everything with her. While they're on FaceTime, an unknown number calls Ashley and she doesn't answer. And then it calls again, and then it calls again. And I think they're like on FaceTime on the computer so she can pick up the phone, and she answers eventually. Nobody says anything. Then she gets a text from the same number and it says, "Hey, is this Ashley?" And she's like, "I'm sorry, I don't have this number." And the number says, "This is Kendrick. We texted a little bit last summer. I got a new phone." She's like, "I don't remember that. Sorry." He says, "That's okay. I wanted to see how you were doing. Do you want to get dinner?" She's like, "I don't even know who you are. Also, I'm seeing someone." And he says, "Okay, a boyfriend doesn't bother me if it doesn't bother you. A wise man once told me if there's no ring on the finger, then she's open." Ashley stops responding, but she's still on with her cousin. And her cousin's like, "Do you think this is Kyle? This is not the first time I've asked you this. Do you remember with his friend, what was his name? Morgan?" Apparently way back then, the cousin had been like, "I wonder if Morgan is Kyle." Now we've got 2 instances and it clicks. Ashley realizes that every time they try to make plans with Morgan, it didn't work. Kyle could very well be catfishing as both of these people. And even the assumption about that makes her like, I gotta get the F out. But how do you break off an engagement with a psychopath? I'm gonna make a part 2.